What's up, YouTube? In today's video, I'm talking about the Charlotte Hornets and what to expect from them in this upcoming free agency period. And as we get into the offseason, kind of talk a little bit about what to expect from them. Before I do, feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and all that other stuff. What should the Hornets do? Feel free to put in the comment section. Let's just jump into it here. All right, so the Hornets have unrestricted free agents along with some restricted free agents that they need to make decisions on. We'll kind of focus on a couple, or one in particular, but I do want to mention a couple up front. Both of their unrestricted free agents in Montrezl Harrell and Isaiah Thomas. I don't think that either of them will stay with the team. However, I do wonder exactly what the market is for those kind of players. Probably vet minimum for Isaiah Thomas. And really at this point, Montrez is just, ever since he had the Sixth Man of the Year award and he won that in LA with the Clippers, I just really wonder what his value is at this point. Like, he kind of disappeared in Charlotte. Like, obviously he doesn't play for like a big market team or a popular team or a team that goes to the playoffs, and that really hurts free agent value for sure. So plus he has some legal issues going on right now, so I'm not really sure what his future is like, but I can't imagine him getting a whole lot of money in free agency, which is unfortunate because he could have easily re-signed with the Clippers and went to LA with the Lakers instead, and moved crazy, and then moved again. So a lot of stuff with Montrez. I don't know. Restricted free agency. Cody Martin, I think he's a really solid player. I don't think he'll get an offer sheet from any team, but I do think that the Hornets do decide to keep him. I think he's a good role player for their team moving forward. Obviously keeping in mind how much you're wanting to pay him. And then as far as money goes, and trying to monitor how much you're paying a guy, Miles Bridges is another one. I think Bridges is a really good player, but I don't necessarily see him being like an all-star, perennial all-star for sure. Not, I don't see that at all. But I think he's a really good player. Does he work well with LaMelo? I think he does. But I do sometimes worry about this guy who plays like kind of a big forward when he's 6'6". And I just really wonder what he is moving forward. So that will be really interesting to see. And I think at this point, when you're Charlotte, you've missed on some draft picks in the past. You aren't really a free agent destination at all. I think you got to keep these kind of guys, even though you're on the fringe of like, is he really like the future? And there's been reports that have, reiterated that fact that Charlotte isn't necessarily too keen on the idea with keeping Bridges long term. So because that is the case, I ultimately just wonder exactly what his situation is and how they can move forward from that. I think you got to keep him for sure, just given the situation, but we'll see what happens. I think he'll likely stay now that some other teams that were supposed to have a lot of cap space are off the board. Non-guaranteed, Jalen Mcdaniels, Nick Richards. Extension eligible: Kelly Ubre, Mason Plumley, PJ McDaniels, or Jaden McDaniels, PJ Washington. Let me really focus in on a couple of guys that I want to talk about. Jalen should stay. I like him. I think he'll be fine for the future. PJ Washington, though, I love what Washington is. I think he can stretch the floor. He's not really a power forward because he has like some perimeter game, but he's not really a center. He's also maybe a so-so defender. I think he has areas to improve, but I see the potential there, and I actually do like Washington's ceiling. But I don't really think that like we've seen a whole lot from him in Charlotte. Does that mean that he needs a change of scenery and he could be better somewhere else? Maybe. Does that mean that they just need a bigger role for him? Maybe, but I don't really see that role coming because most of their impact players are coming back. So we'll see with Washington. I like him a lot, but we'll just see what kind of role he has on the team moving forward. And then Kelly Oubre and Mason Plumlee. These are guys, again, with extension eligible players. Do you keep them or do you trade them when their extension is, they're trying to negotiate their extension? So Kelly Oubre, Mason Plumlee, I think, are two ideal candidates. $21 million in cap space, just right there from those two. Assuming that you're trading with a team that's also over the cap, you have to match the money. So in this case, like 18 to 22 million, I think, or maybe 18 to 23 million. You got to stay within that range as far as money that you're getting back. So can you take on a bad contract? Maybe. Like Davis Bertans. Like, if you could land Davis Bertans and some draft picks, maybe that's a good idea for Charlotte, especially if you're not keeping those players for the long term. But that's that's just kind of my personal opinion on those guys right there. Let's throw up the cap sheet here for the Hornets. Trade candidates that I see: Hayward, Ubre, we mentioned Plumley, we mentioned James Bouknight is actually having surgery and is going to miss summer league, so that's kind of disappointing. Like, he was okay in summer league last year. Now he's not even going to play at all. He didn't really play at all last year during the regular season. So him and Kai Jones, not great picks. And then this year they could have added on to that, but they also didn't really make the greatest of picks either. I think we're going to see games in the summer league where Mark Williams goes and gets like 15 and 12 and 4 blocks, and we're going to go, whoa. But then there's going to be another game where he gets like 4 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 block, and we're going to be a little underwhelmed. We'll see, though. I like Mark Williams, but just not. I don't like the fact that the Hornets gave up the opportunity at Jalen Duren for that. Anyway, so that's kind of a quick rundown here of the Hornets. Was about to say the Bobcats. I think they need a defensive center. I think they kind of got that with Mark Williams in the draft. I still think they could do better, but let's talk a little bit about who they've been rumored to kind of be in the mix for. There's been Rudy Gobert. We've heard him. We've heard DeAndre Ayton. I really like the Richaun Holmes pickup. Mitchell Robinson, although it sounds like he's headed back to New York. And then Miles Turner as well, which has always been kind of a guy that I thought would be perfect for Charlotte. For a young team like them to have Turner, who's a relatively good rim protector and a guy who could space the floor a little bit, I think that could be fun for the Hornets. So we'll ultimately have to see what they decide to do. I think kind of the biggest thing that they do is that they bring back Miles Bridges, but I ultimately think that that's it. But they could make another smaller move. We'll just have to see. This team that's run by Mitch Kupchak and Michael Jordan, we've seen so much up and down from them as far as their moves have gone. Like, the only positive thing that they've done recently has been drafting LaMelo Ball, and it kind of fell to them because the Warriors didn't want to take him at 2. So we'll see exactly what happens there. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think the Hornets should do? Do you think they should try to go make a trade for one of these big-name centers, or do you think they should stand pat? Do you think they should use their free agency to maybe acquire a guy like Richaun Holmes? Like, what exactly do you think they should do? Let me know in the comment section. Feel free to check the other 29 videos that we're doing for all the other NBA teams and their off-season previews, and we'll catch you in the next video.